Okay, we want to take a look in this video at the whole process, the bid, the quote, the order, the proposal, and so on. There's a whole lot of different ways to do things, a whole lot of very comprehensive options and lots of features and whistles and buzzers, but let's just real simply go through a very, very basic process, and you'll see along the way there's a lot more we can do, but hopefully this will give people an idea of how the basic logic flows in setting this up. So you have someone call and say, I need a price on something. Or you have a bid situation. You have a bid due next week, week after. That's an opportunity to give a price someplace. We call that a bid. Might call it a lead or a request for bid, but in the system here we call it a bid. So the first place we go is edit bids. We want to add a new bid. And we have to pick a salesperson. So we pick a salesperson. We have a date, default date fills in, project name, let's say it's a residence, let's say it's a residential request, and we pick a project type, it's residential, and that's all we really need to do to create a bid. There's a lot more information here that might be useful for actual architectural bids and things like that. We want to track our marketing sources ultimately and so on. We have bid dates, plan information, takeoff information, follow-up notes. This is what we use to follow up on our leads and so on. We have bid status and so on. But for now, let's just leave it at that, update this bid. So now we know in the system, we've recorded the fact in the system that we've got to give somebody a price. So we're going to go to update bid, and that creates the bid, gives it a number, and saves it. So I click that button, and now I've got a bid. It tells who created it, what time, and now my basic information is in there. The next thing that we want to do now is, if it's time to quote, if it's time to work up an estimate, now maybe a salesman has to get back to this or whatever, but now let's say it's time to work up an estimate. So what we want to do now is we want to go create a quote, which is actually the estimate, the workup, the price workup. So we go back to the menu, go to manage orders, and we want to create a quote. To create a quote, we can put a customer in it, but we don't have to put a customer in it. To make it a very basic, simple quote, if we haven't created the customer, we simply click the button that says create quote, and that brings us here. Okay, now we've got we've got something we need to price, to estimate. I'm going to create this quote. This is create quote screen. We got a few things to fill in. I'm going to fill in the minimum. I'm not going to put in all the whistles and buzzers, as I said before, but let's just walk down the screen here and see what's got to be on here to get a price out. Now, if and when this does become a real order, all we need to do at that point is change this from quote to order, and then rolls into the system, and nobody has to re-enter anything. So it should be really the only time you have to enter the name and address and so on. If you have a customer already, that would already be filled in, but we're assuming here that this is just a price we're going to give somebody, never worked with them before. So first thing we got to pick is a price level, and we're just going to assume this is the base level. Next thing is terms. We'll make them COD. Price list, the default price list is fine. Tax, let's say it's California tax. Salesperson, same salesperson. Pick a sales group. Pick a service type, residential installation. Pick a location. Okay, and that then determines my default item category. The only other things we need to fill in here are something in the address. Let's just say it's I give it a name and an address. I've used this one before, so let's see. Yeah, and if it's the same for the ship to, now this is residential, so the bill to and the ship to probably going to be the same thing. So I simply hit this button, and it wants me to confirm that I want to copy over the ship to. Of course, there's nothing in there, and I do, so I click OK. Okay. Another thing we need here for this is we have to give the marketing source, where the lead come from. This one, say, came from our website. And the other thing that we want to put in here now to link this back to our bid is the bid ID. So the bid we created a minute ago, or previously, had got a bid ID number. We're going to put that number in this bid ID box, and then maybe a brief description. So that when we go back and look at the bid, it'll give us a rough idea of what we did here. So we'll say quoted 2 doors. That's fine. That's all we need. Okay, so we're going to create the quote now. We're going to save this. Click this button, and now we've saved our quote. And now it's time to go to the details, put the items on this quote that we want to price. Now, all the buttons have one distinct red letter in them. That letter is your hotkey. So you can either click the button, or when you're doing billing and when you get fast at this, you'll want to use the hotkeys. And for the hotkey, I hold the Alt key down and then touch the key, tap the key with the red letter. So in this case, I want to go to the details. I hold the Alt key down, I tap D, and there I am. Here I am at the details screen. And this is where I'm going to add the items I want on this estimate that I want to price for this customer. So let's put a couple items on this to add items to this order, to this quote now. We go to Add New. And the first thing we have to do is enter the quantity. We're going to say 2, and let's say that we're these are items that are already in our list, and we have a sell price for them already. So I'm going to pick something that's already in there, and this is what comes up. I picked a item number 1003 is a 9x8 444 series residential door. Okay, fills in the unit of measure. Fills in the estimated unit cost. This comes from my most recent cost. This is drawn out of inventory information. If I have an item that doesn't have most recent cost, I can type it in. This one has a sell price already, so I haven't had to put anything in. That's really all I need to do. So I want to put that on this quote, and I also want to put a couple operators on it. So what I'm going to do now is choose to save and add a new line right here. And I'm going to put 2. And I've got an item built here for these operators. I've got 2 Glide Right 807 series operators. Their cost, my most recent cost is what that is. Estimated unit cost was $178. Here's our sell price, or that's our extended cost, and there's a unit price. And I'm going to save that one. And let's see. And now let's say that I want to add one more thing to it that's not in my inventory. Say I'm quoting something that it's a special part, a custom part, or typically for bid work, you won't have a list of doors and different items that are already built, because everything is customized. So let's say I want to add a custom thing to this order. It's simple. It's not much to it. What I want to do is I want to add a new line. So I'll click Save and add a new line. And I want to get one. I want to add to it as a special mind reader controller. So when you're driving home and you think about opening your garage door, it opens automatically. So let's say we sell these things. So I'm going to put in miscellaneous item and a description. I'll type over that description and I'll call it the special mind reader activator. I'm sure Google has one of these somewhere. And unit measures each. Now I don't have a unit cost, but I know what I'm going to pay for it. They cost me $254. And what I can do with the cost multiplier, if I want to, is I can say, well, I want to charge about 2.5 times what I pay for that thing. Hot item. And now I want to calculate the price. So see, I have no price, but when I calculate the price, it gives me that multiplier on it. And that's all. I'm done. So now I want to save it. And now I want to go to the details and look at what I've got all together. So here's what I've got. I've got my items listed here. I got my estimated costs. Of course, when you actually buy it, it could vary, but these are the costs I anticipate. This is the multiplier for each to arrive at the price for each. Extended cost, extended price. I can edit these. I can change these prices. I can do a whole lot of different recalculations on the price right through here. I'm going to skip all that now just to make this thing simple. So there's my quote. I've got my quote now. And what I want to do now is I want to go back to my header, check it out, and we're done with that for now. We've got our quote. We know what we want to tell our customer. talk to the customer, and he says, okay, send me a proposal. Next step, from this point, we click proposal. Okay. We get our basic proposal, has no information in it right now. Okay. But we can fill it in, and we can fill in what we want as we need it. And that's what we're going to take a look at now. Okay, first thing is the date. Let's put a date on it, today's date. We've got the familiar, probably, list of different salutations up there, I guess, titles. I'm going to leave it at furnish and install. We didn't bring the descriptions of the items over. We can do that from the details screen. I can show you that in a minute. Typically you won't do that. Typically you'll want a more a lengthier description. So let's put those in. In my proposal phrases, I built a couple dummy descriptions here. We had a 440 series, and let me go back up here and put a little space. We had a glide right operator. Okay, so we can automatically insert those, paste those descriptions into our proposal. Any additional options we could put in here, and they could also come from the proposal phrases. Same with extra notes. And here's my price that came over. I've got 4 alternates. Now these alternates will appear as adds and deducts to the total price. So let's just say I want to deduct the mind controller. So I say deduct for doors and operators only, not including mind reader controller, total price. You might want to spell that out. And I'll say, let's say that brings us down to $2,200. So these can be used for different mix and match prices. You have to make it clear in here whether they're in addition, whether they're alternates, and so on, obviously. Set the terms. We'll set residential net 10, and that is done. So we'll save that. Just to give an idea of how it works if we want to paste, if we actually want to paste those descriptions in. I'll make a little space down here. If I go back to the details, let me save that. Go back to the details now. Select the lines that I want to appear in the proposal, and click this button. When I come back to my proposal, there they are. And if I use them at all, I probably want to put them up above these descriptions. But again, this is all customizable and editable. Everybody has a different way of looking at what they want to see on their proposal. So I'm going to save it again. Now I can print it, but if I print it now, it has not been approved. In this case, I have permission to approve proposals. If a salesperson does not have that permission, then it has to be approved by someone who does. You may choose to give the salespeople that permission, but basically this indicates that it's been looked over and it's approved for use as it is. If anything changes up here, the approval automatically will come off. But I'm going to approve it now. I'm going to save it with the approval. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to print it, and if I am the salesperson on the proposal, then I have the ability to print my signature as well. So I'm going to do that. I scratched a signature into this for this salesperson, and it should print on the screen. So if I'm ready now, I can print my proposal. Here's what it looks like. The form is subject to change. I mean, we're still getting feedback from people, and it will probably change. Notice that this phrase up here, this document printed, this date and time, is at the very top. At the very, very bottom, exact same date and time, just so that you know if it goes to multiple pages that they go together. Here's your description. Here are options and notes if we had any. We didn't. Here's our alternate. Here's our price. There's our alternate with a box to initial the alternate. Our terms and conditions. There's the signature. This is what I did with the mouse. I drew it with the mouse. So I suggest you use a stylus on a tablet. That's the ideal way. And then you can save your signatures. We'll show that in a different video. And then there's the purchaser's acceptance. So this, as it stands, because it has a signature on it, and because it had to have been done by the salesperson, you can save this as a PDF, for example, and then email it. And that's what the customer will get. Now down here at the bottom, if the proposal was not approved, this signature line would not appear, these lines for execution would not appear, and it would say in bold letters, note this proposal is a draft and has not been approved for signature, something like that. Okay, so that's the process, start to finish, from bid through proposal.